The ship starts up and we're going, right, now where are we going? Home.
Home.
To Melbourne.
That's correct.
Right, going to Melbourne, right?
And here, whatever changes in life happen, they accelerate from this point.
Yeah, because it's coming. It's coming now.
Yes.
Things are starting to move. You're heading north.
Roughly,
Into the
it's
summertime.
Northeast.
Yes, but into the summer. So everything starts to change.
Yes.
The environment starts to change. Your smell starts to pick up.
It's very hard to smell anything else other past the diesel.
How long does it take to get to the filthy 50s from Gausberg? You actually start to hit that
Look, it would have
torrential,
been probably not much more than a day steaming out.
straight up, and you start going, oh God, here we go. Because it's quite a few days to get across that whole meridian, isn't it?
Not particularly pleasant either.
Yeah, because it's a roundish boat too, isn't it? And it slews and rolls like a...
Rounded hull,
Yeah.
specifically designed to be able to go through ice without warping.
But not heavy seas.
Yeah, terrible in heavy seas. No stabilisers.
So those choppers must be really, really tied down.
Oh yes, they strapped those aircraft down so tight.
Is there any sign of life around at that time?
Well, there's of course the birds, albatrosses following the boat, and occasional
After vomit.
whales.
Okay,
Yeah.
so we're through the filthy 50s. We're heading towards
Through the roaring 40s.
roaring 40s, yes.
And then we're getting into summer climate.
Yeah.
Yeah, we were having barbecues on the back deck in shorts and t-shirt. Yeah, how unusual is that?
Yeah. And especially when he's rolling around like this.
Yeah. And there's other things that it reminded you that you were getting home.
Yeah, I think you just said it. All of a sudden you realise there's insects.
That was the next thing I noticed. What's changing? Insects.
Yeah.
I was sitting.
Yeah. What the hell is that?
I was sitting.
What is that?
Yeah. I was sitting in the observation deck, and I just glanced, and there was these insects on the glass on the inside as they do. And I thought, hang on, I haven't seen that for 15 months. I think they were probably midges or something like that.
Yeah, well, they've probably been frozen on the ship, gone into some sort of hibernation, and then as it got warmer, they sort of came out of their hibernation.
I don't
Because you
know.
can't tell me midges flew, 100
they
kilometres, 300 kilometres or
They could
1,000
get
kilometres.
caught in the wind, maybe. I don't know.
Yeah. Not
I
much
just know they were there.
there. So, like I said, those are sort of subtle things in that are happening around you. The temperature changing, you're feeling the life coming back to you.
And then, of
around
course, the next thing we noticed are the boats on the sea. We'd
you.
been out there, not another boat in sight anywhere, and there we were, a tanker over there, and
Traffic.
Traffic. Cargo boat over there. Wow.
Because I suppose you're hitting the shipping lanes now. Then you're
Yes.
South Australia, Southern Australia.
As we're coming into Melbourne.
Yeah.
And the next thing we saw was the Westgate Bridge.
Yes, as you said to me, this is because it's so old.
1975 was the year it collapsed.
There's a massive gaping hole between the spans of the bridge.
Yep.
And it's like an apocalyptic scene.
What struck me was it looked exactly the same as it did a year before when we left, or 15 months before.
Yeah.
Typical Australia.
So you arrive into Melbourne. I suppose that's a shock in itself. The sound, the smell.
Yeah. Well, you imagine you're coming in, and then finally in the distance, there's a wharf over there, way in the distance. You're coming in. There's crowds on the wharf.
What? Crowds?
There's women amongst the crowd.
What?
Yeah.
Women?
Yeah.
Is that what they look like?
There's my mum and dad as you get closer.
How does that make you feel? You're a young man, 25, 24, and your parents. They come down from Newcastle. That's quite a trip.
Oh yeah.
And that must really hit you hard.
Yeah. Well, you can imagine.
But you're a man now. I can take that. Yeah.
Of course, there's emotions because you haven't seen them for all that time, and you've been in such a different environment. And here you were coming back to familiar-ish environment. People, there's my parents, friends you hadn't seen for ages.
Yeah. And you hadn't really been able to communicate with them either because of the text, the teletext, whatever it is, system that they had was pretty basic.
Very basic compared to now. But the old telexes, you'd write it out, gave it to the radio operators, who would then convert There's this code book to save on actually putting words.
Oh.
I think it
It's
meant
like a
all
shorthand.
my love, darling, or something like that.
Yeah,
And so that became everything was a whizzer.
yeah. Do you get off the boat in your shorts and thongs and your t-shirt?
Some of them got off, dressed up in their suit. I should have done it, but I didn't. My mother wasn't.
So you just get up and go, and then you walk up to your parents, I suppose, and say, "G'day, Mum," and she goes, "Oh, what the hell is that?" Because you've got a big bushy beard.
That's
bloody
exactly
hair.
right. Hair
You
down
look
to
like some
here.
sort of- So it must have been a bit of a shock for them to see you. You know, obviously they knew you were coming and there's great emotion, but to realise that's my son. He's back and he's different.
Yeah, well, look.
You have to prod you. Is that
Yeah.
him? Look
And
at the muscles
physically
on him,
it's,
you know. And you.
I forgot to mention the other thing that was a change was money.
Oh, what?
You hadn't used money.
Yeah,
except
yeah,
to buy
yeah.
a few postage
Yeah,
stamps.
yeah. Sorry, you did.
Now
say
on the
that.
boat,
Yep.
because I had something like a dozen paintings I'd done during the year. Everybody wanted to buy.
Yeah, 'cause I bet you sold them for a really cheap price too.
Probably.
Jeez.
So I sold them all except for one I kept. I promised it to a friend of mine.
Not your
Very
mum and
first
dad?
one I did. No. I painted more afterwards,
Yeah.
so they got some.
So that's based on your pictures, or
Yes.
did you actually take photographic evidence of your pictures?
Yeah,
So
most of them I've got photographs of.
But you were loaded. You came back loaded. You're some sort of
Yeah.
you'd been gambling the whole time. I got it all.
I got all
baby.
this money. What do you do with this?
So you're loaded. With all
Yeah.
this money, and you go, oh, okay. Now what do I do? And like I said, what you sort of get to the point because you're not used to using money.
Anyway, we're back.
Yeah, I've been at sea for a week, and you go into a toilet, and the whole toilet's moving like this because you still got that.
Yes, you probably for about the next day you have land sickness, so the ground seems to sway when you're familiar with it.
It's a funny feeling. It's real.
It is.
Okay, so what do you just get in the car and head back to Newcastle, or what?
Nope.
Okay, just checking.
First off, everybody wanted to have a yarn with the Antarctic guy, so you're getting these invitations to go to the people's
How do they
places.
send you an invitation?
Well, a lot of them were at the wharf. They said,
Okay,
"Oh,
so
come
come
and see us and have a meal and all this sort of stuff.
Cool.
I would have been happy to spend the night on my own, hop in the car and head home, but it wasn't to be.
Yeah.
There was debriefing to do at Antarctic Division.
Yeah.
I also had to debrief.
So that's Inari, is it?
Well, how it's structured is Inari covers all Antarctic operations.
Yep.
Every government department. Antarctic Division is the operational arm of Inari.
Okay, so
The Bureau of Mineral Resources that I work for were part of Inari. Meteorological Department were part of Inari, and a number of other government departments.
so that's an overarching sort of
Yes.
situation. Okay, so you got debriefed. Now, what's a debriefing like? Did you have to go and do any medical tests to see your physiological change? I know you had to deal with your psychological things as well, because it's a serious issue coming back to mainstream society who couldn't give a shit who you are, don't care who you are, from being a prince in the Antarctic.
I can't recall that we had any medical examination.
Because you said you were fat.
I put on a layer of fat which I'd never had in my life.
That's right.
All over. It's just what body does in cold temperatures.
Absolutely. So you would have been quite a bit heavier, a couple of kilos more,
Yeah,
than you
and
would
the
normally.
clothes that I could wear easy, I had to squeeze into.
Mm-hmm.
Because you imagine you got say an extra half an inch all over your body.
Yeah.
That's significant.
And muscle build, because you're physically very, very active there.
Yeah.
And I suppose that's the hardest thing you realise, because when you're doing day-to-day work in Antarctic, you're running around doing whatever, or walking around doing it stuff. Will you ever do some exercise on the boat?
You could if you wanted to.
Okay. Let's have another beer then.
Yeah.
Okay.
But it's only a matter of weeks before you're back, so you didn't lose too much condition in that time anyway. Yeah.
You're the toast of the town. All your friends want to know about it. So when did you realise that you got to the point where you're going 5 minutes conversation and then they've switched off?
People actually turn off when you're talking about the Antarctic. Everybody was genuinely interested. Now, bear in mind, we came back in the middle of Moomba at Melbourne.
Now,
So when you went out, there was crowds everywhere.
Yeah.
Crowds?
Yeah.
What?
Yeah. A shock. Women.
Women.
Women. Whoa.
Exactly.
So you sit there going, wow, what have we missed?
One of the guy, George, who was coming back, he said, I phoned the missus and said, strap the mattress.
Get it
to
right,
your back.
Phil. Get it right, Phil.
Strap the mattress to your back when you get down there, so you don't have to.
Okay, so you're still down in Melbourne. You've done a debriefing. You've got all your data and stuff.
Yeah, went down the boat, got various stuff off that we had to get off. There's just little details you had to take care of.
Yeah.
Along with a lot of socialising, which was difficult.
Yeah. Especially when you're used to a certain group of people.
Yeah.
And then you've got a huge influx of new people. Oh, he's been to Antarctica. Oh, he's really hot, you know. And you still got your gruffy beard on.
I still had the beard down.
So because it was, it's part of your character. Didn't you have some mechanical problems?
Yes, well, my Hillman Arrow that I had was often having generators collapsing. So I was used to that, and I knew exactly how to repair them. So I left the car with my parents, and they used it.
Up in Newcastle?
Back in Newcastle, no problem. Drove it down to Melbourne, no problem. The day I got into it, the generator packed in.
English car.
So there we were, back at the wreckers, getting brushes and things to repair the generator. It's typical, isn't it?
Yeah.
So we had to spend part of the day repairing that. And then I was a friend's place, he was having some car problems, so we helped him fix his car.
Yeah. Well, what happened to gloom? Did you just sort of filter off and disappear?
Yeah, that's what everybody filters off.
It's so weird. It's so weird. It's such a weird thing. You used to, gloom, peach, blah blah blah, and then it's just no.
Yeah, that's exactly what it was like. Everybody just filtered away after the debriefing and all the rest. It was
you have a big party or something?
No.
Sort of say hallelujah, blah blah blah.
No.
Okay.
In fact, some of the people who always went down to the Antarctic many times, they get off the boat, grab their rucksack, walk off, never to be seen again.
Until next year.
They were not interested in Antarctic Division debriefings or anything. They just, that's it, off.
And I suppose you getting into your car and starting to drive around a bit, going, oh God.
That was another trial. Now, having to deal with other people on the same road as you, you had to sort of learn to tolerate other drivers again.
Because I suppose that's half the nature of being in Antarctica. You really have to learn to tolerate other people.
I mean, you had to tolerate people down there, but it was only a set number of people. And our year was pretty easy going for the most part anyway, so it was no drama.
So were you tempted to go for a swim? Because, I mean, you hadn't been for a swim for like a long time.
Interesting question, I can't remember.
Yeah, because, Moomba and everybody's sort of in their bathers and, togs or whatever else you call them down there. And it's like, wow, it's time to go for a swim in the water. No?
No, I don't think I went swimming. But yeah, it probably would have been a good idea.
Yeah, because it was damn hot now.
Yeah.
And how are you handling the heat? Because, I mean, Melbourne's 28, 29, 30?
Yeah, well, you could feel the heat. Not too bad being Melbourne, and there wasn't a heat wave at the time. Melbourne can get very, very hot. So eventually we hopped in the car to head north back to Newcastle.
Because that's quite a trip, isn't it?
Yeah, a day's trip, something like that.
No, from Melbourne to Newcastle, you've got to go through Sydney.
No, it's not that long.
But in your car?
Yes, in my car. So it was three of us, my father, myself, and Max Shannon, who was a Opel dealer from Lightning Ridge.
Okay. What about your mum?
Her and my sister got the train home.
So it must have been a good lot of time to chat with Dad, go through the experiences, because he'd have been concerned about you, he'd been worried about you being in this strange environment,
I don't know if he was worried, but if he knew all the things we got up to, and
and
as I've gone through these series of podcasts, even I'm surprised.
Yeah. And that's the beauty of having this sequence of podcasts, which we forget that we've actually been doing it longer, this podcast series, than you were actually there.
Yeah, it's just like the MASH series, I think.
We failed to actually say this is the final podcast because who knows, there could be another one in the works.
There could be. We'll certainly endeavour to bring other people's experiences.
Yes.
As for whether I continue with my own, maybe. But this could be the last one of my experiences.
Yeah. And don't forget to like and subscribe viewers to this podcast and to Phil's channel. We digress.
We have.
Okay, so we're heading back to Newcastle. You've got to re-establish yourself in your old room at home.
Yep.
Why did you decide to go to Queensland? I don't get that.
My father wanted to go up there for some reason. He said, "You want to come for a drive up to Brisbane?" Yeah, right, good idea.
Yeah, because you've got nothing to do for a bit, is it?
Yeah, we had a month or so off before we...
Month of leave, yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
So, all right. So, in the car, and I went up to Brisbane with him.
Mm.
Well,
Hot and humid.
that's when I found out how conditioned I was to the Antarctic.
Yeah.
3 or 4 days I had to get out. I couldn't take it anymore. And then, back to the work grind in Canberra.
Mm.
And I think it was, by this time it was April, probably mid to late April.
Starting to get cold again.
In Canberra it's getting cold. Mm-hmm. Not for me.
In the middle of winter.
I just didn't feel the cold.
Mm.
Except for one morning I got up, I just wanted to check the car, do something on it. And I thought, that's a bit cold. That's a strange feeling. I don't feel cold.
Mm.
Well, later on I checked, it was minus 10 degrees at that
Celsius.
time. And I'm in shorts and thongs and t-shirts.
That's right. It must have been a funny sight to somebody walk past to see this bloke. Have you still got the beard by then?
Yes, I still have.
Okay, you still got the beard, sitting there probably, I don't know if you smoked in those times.
No, I didn't smoke.
And, tinkering with his car and his shorts and his thing, and they're going, "You mad bastard." Did you still feel an affinity to that, to the Antarctic?
I did feel an affinity to it, because when I was back in Canberra, I was doing work on the data that we had, and I was debriefing them on the geophysical setup down there.
Yep.
So there was still a lot to do with the Antarctic and what I had been doing for the previous 15 months going on for the rest of that year.
Oh, okay, so it's a 2-year project in that
Pretty
sense.
much, yeah.
Yeah, because you don't sort of just switch off, that's it. So with the data that you're collecting, how do you translate that into usable data?
The usable data, particularly with the seismic, was the onsets of all the earthquakes. Mm-hmm. Now, we had preliminary results from the USGS, which are the ones who would send worldwide earthquake locations.
Yep.
Probably still the same
Still
today.
do the same, yeah.
Yeah. And then we would go through them with that data, and we could do everything more exactly and pick up stuff we might have missed and locate stuff like the atomic explosions. So you went through and revised the whole year's earthquakes, and then that went on, I think it was the ISG, if I remember right, different organisation that gave the definitive earthquake.
International Geological Association.
Yeah, oh yes, yeah, that, yeah.
Yeah.
And you do something similar to the magnetic survey work.
So how does that look? Is it like a map, or is it sort of a reams of pages?
Reams of data.
Is that tabulated on a computer or some? Or
yes, it is all tabulated and goes into the worldwide network.
And it's just absorbed.
Yeah.
And if you could go back now, you could reference
you could 1976,
get all that data. Yes. June the 1st, and see what that nuclear explosion was in.
Yeah. Now, back in those days, it was all stored in boxes and put somewhere. So if anyone, for that was magnetic and seismic, if anyone wanted to look at those original records, they could access them. Yeah. Now, I'd guess they've probably digitised all of those records since then.
From your point of view, the information is worthwhile. It was worthwhile taking it. It's being used in a bigger scheme of things.
Yeah, it's used in the scheme of things available for whatever people need that data for. Mawson was in a place where there was a big hole in the data with just one place, Mawson. And it was particularly important for seismic because for earthquake information, there otherwise would be a big gap in the worldwide network that is filled by that one base.
So that's another couple of months.
Yeah, they're pretty much almost the end of the year.
Right, and by this time you were getting a bit frisky, apparently. Frisky, sort of chasing after birds.
Was I?
Yes, not the feather type, the human type.
Really?
Yeah, apparently. Yeah. Apparently, you sort of climbing fences and howling at the night, which attracted females to you like butterflies to the light.
I did meet a woman the hostel where I was living at
the
time.
hostel?
The hostel in Canberra.
Mhm.
Back in those days, they had 2 big hostels in Canberra for public servants, single public servants. I was
Single?
one called Havelock House.
So I can't believe that they had male and female living next door to each other.
We all had separate rooms.
I know, but they were still next door. It's not
There
much
was
different.
no regulations there. It's just a place to live.
You'd have to look after the ladies' virtues.
No controls whatsoever.
And I suppose the other thing about that is, okay, you found the love of your life, which you must have been pursuing. How long did it take you to
Well,
to get it on, man?
there'd be I don't
Couple
know.
of weeks.
No, it was about 3 months or something.
Did you shave your beard for that?
No,
You still had the grass on.
probably. I trimmed it. But
Okay, that's right.
yeah,
So you're looking a bit more smart.
a bit more smart.
And what did she say when she first met you?
She said, I'm from Newcastle. I said, yeah, so am I. And she's thinking, oh, yeah, right. That's a come online if ever.
Did you go to my school?
That's from the pantomime. Yeah. So that is that same year I met my wife. And then
Which you're still married to.
Yeah, still married.
Well done.
Yeah. And I took a contract in New Guinea.
Did Karen go with you to New Guinea?
No.
So you went. So had you got married?
No, not at that stage.
So you were having a relationship,
Yeah.
and then you decided to bugger off to New Guinea.
Yeah.
The dark wonders of the Australian colonial service. No, it was just got independent then. But
not long independent, only years.
yeah, a year, only a year, 2 years,
A couple of years.
75.
Yeah.
So that's not a good start to a relationship, is it?
Well, she came up and spent a bit of time with me, communicated a lot, and then we got engaged during that time. And
All right.
why are we going into all this anyway?
I
This
don't
is
know.
a
I
bit-
just thought it was a nice little segue.
Okay.
Let's
Yeah,
get back to it. So
We're finished, haven't we?
no, we're still at Canberra. I want to know when you signed off and said that's it, and you're not going back, because to me, the experience was such a profound effect on you. Why weren't you encouraged to sign up for another year, maybe the following year?
I thought it a bit too soon to go back there.
Why do you think that?
It just did. If I was going back down, I could have stayed.
Yeah.
The normal pattern is you come back, the Bureau would offer you a new contract.
But these are year contracts.
Yeah.
Pretty well.
Well, the new contract would be a permanent position.
Yeah.
That was a normal practice. It always happened.
Yeah.
Malcolm Fraser had not long been in and decided he instigated a thing called the Razor Gang to shrink the public service.
Yeah.
And that was off the table for the first time ever. So I thought I'd be working for the Bureau of Mineral Resources, somewhere in the department, and then I'd decide do I want to go back to the Antarctic at some stage, maybe in a couple of years.
Yeah.
Wasn't to be. I was offered a contract in New Guinea, which again would normally have been with the Bureau, but they had recently handed over their geophysical operation in Port Moresby to the New Guinea government.
Yeah. Which
So I was the very first employee to take a contract with the New Guinea government rather than with the Australian government.
Papua New Guinea government.
Papua New Guinea, yes.
Let's get it right.
So,
All right. So that concludes your time in Antarctica. And
it does.
Oh, the other thing I was just talking about. What do you do with all your money? I mean, you must have been loaded. Your bank account must have been bursting at the seams with the amount of money you had, because you never had to spend anything.
To give you an idea, I had probably about 15,000 in the bank.
Yeah.
Which
Before you started or after?
After.
Okay, so that's a big amount better money.
It was in those days.
Yeah.
Nowadays, a 15,000 you go.
Yeah.
But 15,000 in 1977
Was a lot of money.
Yeah.
So were you encouraged to invest it in property or whatever?
I did invest a swag of it in property.
Yeah.
I bought a property up in
Queensland.
Queensland. Yes.
So we just want to talk to Phil about what he got out of the experience in Antarctica and how it would reflect on people today in 2024 thinking about a possibility of going down to Antarctica to spend a period of time there. Phil, how did it affect your life?
Big thing it did was give me a zest for adventure.
Yes. Yep.
You got back, I'd done all these incredible things for the last 15 months. And of course, when I was offered a contract in New Guinea, I took it because I had that zest for adventure still. So there's one of the things. It just adds to your general life experiences quite a fair bit.
I suppose also the other thing is that it was a sort of really defining period in your life. Yeah, and because I suppose it's a concentration of the experiences in such a short time, the lifelong friends that you make have still around today.
Yes.
And as David Blaby, who another one we interviewed, said, when he meets his friends, it's a bear hug experience.
You shared life experiences with these people. It'd be similar to astronauts and people who have special experiences.
Yeah, it's an elite club.
You form a bond that's a little bit different to normal.
If you get the opportunity to go down to Antarctica for research as a mechanic, as a person, fixing things, or as a geophysicist, take the opportunity, get in touch with ANARI.
Well, Antarctic Division.
And have the most elaborate and deep experiences of your life. I've gained a lot from talking to Phil over the last 2 years nearly for this podcast, and I feel like I know the place almost. And yet it'd probably be completely different now anyway. The Antarctic as a continent is violent, vicious, beautiful, extraordinary, all at the same time.
Correct.
Even 50 years later, you could still hark back to it.
Yes.
You're part of a community of people now who have had experiences there. We're reaching out to other people in the community to try and document their life stories of Antarctica.
Yes.
We've had a few really extraordinary people coming across. So, thank you, Phil.
You're welcome.
And thank you, and continue on with the project, because it's obviously getting bigger and bigger with other people coming into.
We're hoping to get some more, which I'm hoping to get maybe a few recorded this year.
Yeah.
And we'll see how we go.
Okay. So please remember, don't forget to like and subscribe to the podcast.
And comments would be good if they're good comments.
Yeah, comments below.
And
so
YouTube.
What's the podcast called?
Podcast is Cold Case Adventures and How to Survive Them.
Oh, okay. Jesus.
That is the name of the podcast if you're in a podcast site.
Okay.
And it's called Phil's Antarctic Adventures on the YouTube.
Okay.
If you Google my name, Philip Walter, WOLTER, you should find the YouTube site.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, and on that note, ladies and gentlemen and podcasters all around the world, thank you very much for watching. And shall we cut it there?
We'll cut it there.
3, 2, 1.
Good.